So when starting building the game, we have a lot of different steps that we go through, both to envision what the game is going to be about before you even have the game, and that is very important, especially when you're building a new engine, because for a long time you don't have a game to look at. In the beginning, we started out even with early prototyping about the key thing in this game, which was the destruction. We could do that in very simple steps. We can play around with Lego, for instance, and do mock-up first-person videos of running around in that environment, just blowing things up. Part of that is for fun, part of that is also just to try out that, do we believe in this? And it might look a bit silly, but it actually gives us a lot of feeling for what it's going to be about. After that, we start moving closer towards creating the actual visual target for the game, and there's several steps in that. First a 2D animatic, then a 3D animatic, and then we start adding the sounds to create some kind of a picture of what we want to paint. And then later on, we spend a lot of time just rendering this actually as a just pre-rendered movie to set some kind of a bar what we're going to want to do, and especially then focusing on the squad behavior, the war going on, the first person, like how the gun handles, and more importantly the destruction and the gameplay of the actual game. At that point the game looks really good actually, because it is a pre-rendered movie, but it's also very fake. And at this stage we don't know much about the game. We don't really know how it's going to look, because we are only visualizing things in our heads and trying to communicate that to everyone that needs to get an understanding of what the game is going to be about.
Get out there! Go, go, go! Let's go! I got you covered, Miller. Move!
Requesting mortar strike at these coordinates.
Roger, we have the coordinates.
Watch out, Miller!
Since we developed the technology from the ground up, they are very crude in the beginning, the first steps. But as you move forward, the game starts to take shape. Getting some particles in and working in the game, or getting the first tree in the game, or getting the first destruction working on a house, for instance. While you do these kind of things to just prove out the different features in the game, the sidetrack is that we've been working on story, characters, all of these kind of things, to create more what we want to have as the attitude and the tone of the game. And in order to prove that, we created another movie, which was like a crude cutscene being played up by the actual Frostbite game engine, with correct animation data, with the characters, with the environments that we actually had. And we had a visual target before, but it was actually this movie that gave us more the true step of what our visual target should be, because this was rendered by the actual engine in itself.
Never stop talking, just shut up. God, look.
Quick, move out! Keep moving, Haggard!
And your flank. Can't you just stand still and...
Story of friendship, sacrifice, and personal growth as two brothers are torn
Do we
apart.
look like brothers to you? Go, 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 go! Turn around back, follow me! You want to call for a cab?
And when we saw that, that was when we got a really good feeling for what the tone in the game is going to be about. The dialogue between the characters and how they haggle and talk to each other, and that's when they start to come to life and you start to get a feeling for the story that you have created and the dialogue being played out by the characters.
Now can we focus on staying alive here, please?
Sarge!
What?
Incoming!
Sir? What?
I just want you to know, I think we make a great team.
Us? Well, what do you mean, us? A great team?
We're like a band of brothers. You know, like brothers in arms on a mighty.
So the main characters in the game are a squad of 4, of which you play Preston Marlowe, and is the main character that we follow throughout this adventure.
Private Preston Marlowe reporting for duty, sir.
You're the new guy in this squad, so you join up with these 3 more veteran members of V Company, which consist of Sarge, Redford, and Sweetwater. Fan säga? That's wrong. Sarge Haggard, Sarge Redford. Most other war games or games around war, they're often very tough and cool guys that really stand up for the country and really fight for the honor and the glory. These guys in Bad Company, they don't really have those motivations.
Gold sweets, 24 carats. What kind of motivation do you need?
We really sat down and tried to nail the characters in our minds before we even start to do anything on paper. And once you have done that, you have the balance between the characters, you start to build the story around these guys and their motivations and their kind of turnarounds during the evolution of the story.
Yeah? Says you in what army? I just always wanted to say that.
We're really happy about the voice actors that we found for this, and these characters really come to life in the studio while we're recording them.
Well, brother, go where I send thee. Tell me, how will you send me? I'm gonna send thee 4x4 because 4 was the 4 that's
It's 20 clicks behind enemy lines. In Port Harbor, the Army's launching at. It's 20 clicks behind enemy lines.
So we kind of sold the idea to them of the story and the script, and we discussed how to make them work together and how they would react if they were real characters. And we got so much out of that because we didn't have to direct every sentence and every word that they said, because they kind of built a relationship with the character, and then they just could, you know, free roam and come up with cool ideas themselves.
Are your trousers chafing your thighs? Because mine are. There's a rash right down the inside there.
I think that's a little more information than we actually needed, Haggard.
I must confess, I have no longer control of glorious Adaristan army or my bladder.
Preston, cat caught your tongue? No. No, that's a good line. We'll keep that in the game. I'm sure the kids will go crazy when they hear that. Won't know what to do. Keep saying, oh boy, can't wait to hear some more shit like that.
When you're done with the sound recordings and you have all the voices, you have the kind of the pacing of the scenes, then you go into the mocap studio and try to put some movement onto these characters. So by complementing the voice acting with the mocap actors, you actually get 2 sets of actors that can help drive this character and become what we're striving for.
I'm Sergeant Redford.
Call me Haggard.
My name is Preston.
I am Sweetwater, yes.
It's been hard work putting this thing together. People have, we're sweating blood. I mean, a lot of development teams do, but I mean, putting together a new next-gen engine, it's no cakewalk. Destruction really changes things, and that's been a bit of, not a surprise. I mean, we were expecting that it was going to, but I don't think quite to the degree that it has. It's fun from a gameplay perspective, but that kind of change in dynamic is really challenging from a design perspective too, because you have to think around problems a lot more, and that's something that we've really had to learn quickly and pick up quickly, and it's probably been our biggest design challenge, I think. But at the end of the day, it combines to give you a really solid experience, and an experience that we really think is fun.
That's the phrase. It's basically just that. So for the music of Bad Company, we wanted something that really fit the tone of the game. So we had to split it up in 2. Basically what we have is a jazzy, Lynch, Tarantino-inspired music with a jazzy organ, surf guitars, and something that was connected to the experience of the squad. But then we also have a bombastic orchestral score. So we went to New York and we worked with Please Music Works. It's a group of composers there. And we recorded with a 60-man orchestra. Even though we set limits to the composers with saying, hey, let's focus on cellos and percussion, it sounded so much bigger than I could ever imagine. When I was there in the room with the musicians, I had goosebumps, you know. It's such an amazing experience to hear it played properly. We've never heard the Battlefield theme sound this good, ever.
Most people think that it's a linear progression when we make a game, but I can sure tell you that that's not the case. Sometimes we get results that no one could anticipate at all.
Little David, play it on your hop, hallelujah, hallelujah. Little David, play it on your hop, hallelujah, hallelujah. Little David, play it on your hop, hallelujah, hallelujah. Little David, play it on your hop, hallelujah, hallelujah. Well, now David,
we had a great time, and the recordings were kick-ass. Can I say that? No.
His papa was a man they call none, but he never stopped working till his work was done. Little David, play it on your hop, hallelujah, hallelujah. Little David, play it on your hop, hallelujah, hallelujah. Little David, play it on your hop, hallelujah, hallelujah. Little David, play it on your hop,
Sorry about that.
hallelujah, hallelujah. Well, when I get up on the mountain top,
That's not good, is it?
We really tried to not hurt any animals during the production of Battlefield Bad Company. We almost made it.
The four main characters that they follow throughout the game are Sergeant Redford, who is the leader of the squad trying to keep them alive.
Either you do as I say, or I'm gonna have to beat your ass into submission.
Sweetwater, who's the cautious guy and trying to come up with the intelligent solutions to problems.
Well, what happened to not taking any chances? What about playing it safe?
You have Haggard, who basically likes to blow things up.
Oh, man! I should have joined the Air Force!
And we have Preston Marlowe, who is the character that the player controls.
Private Preston Marlowe reporting for duty, sir.
When you create characters for a game like this, you need to build them up layer by layer. The first thing you do is to have a good idea on what type of character you want to create. And to do this, you have concept artists and you also have 3D modelers to take your vision and turn this into a believable three-dimensional character. As the characters evolve throughout the script writing and the building of the actual 3D character, you need to add the layer of voice.
Yeah? Says you in what army?
What?
I just always wanted to say that.
Finding the right talent for the voice acting is very, very important. That is when you add the next layer to the characters, adding detail, adding dialect, adding a lot of personality that actually ends up in the final game.
That is funny. That is funny shit, man.
The process of finding the right mocap actor is slightly different than finding the voice talent. The actor needs to have the right body language to fit the voice actor and the physical looks of the character. This doesn't mean that the real-life character looks at all like the character in-game.
Sir, yes, sir!
We're not thinking of these characters as digital characters. We're actually treating everything like a proper movie shoot, even though it's just a made-up fantasy world in the mocap studio. And when you're done with the mocap and you put it into the Frostbite engine together with the lighting and all the post effects, you can actually see that all these years of hard work, of concept drawings, dialogue writing, script writing, mocap and voice acting brought together. And you can actually see and meet the squad for the very first time.
Blowing things up is just fun, and it just makes you want to blow stuff up. It sounds slightly dubious when you hear it here, but actually when you get in there and you're in a tank and you start shooting at a building, it's just a lot of fun to do it.
Destruction is the key thing that you should look out for in the multiplayer, because if you start to learn and start to use the tactical destruction in the game, you will see that you play it in a completely different way from how you play other shooters and how you played Battlefield before.
You get a lot of people when they first jump in and they're like, oh, it's a Battlefield game, okay, all right, and I'm in a tank and I'm driving along, and they'll be driving along and then they see somebody runs off behind a building and they'll go and chase him around the corner because that's what you used to have to do. Whereas now, you kind of just shoot.
The sandbox experience that we usually describe it as, where you can do anything on the battlefield, just got another layer added to it. Because now you don't have to go around static objects or anything like that anymore. You can just take out the walls and go through. The tanks can just drive through the forest instead. And a lot of this will change how you play the shooters today, which we've been ranting and raving about for quite some time.
We're really pleased with the way that it's ended up, and we think there's really something there that people are going to enjoy.
Making audio for Bad Company began with a single question. What can we do better this time around compared to our previous Battlefield games? And for the sound designers here at DICE, the answer was simple. We needed to get out more.
Well, get on board, little children, get on board. Well, get on board, little children, there's room for many more. Well, get on board, just get on board. Just get on board, little children, there's room for many more.
It's when you get out of the studio into the field and record and listen to stuff for real,
and rolling through the land,
when you start to think about how can something so loud, something so powerful, come out of a speaker this small.
It is almost impossible to create audio for a Battlefield game. We have large maps, we have online multiplayer, and we have a single-player campaign. It's a game where anything can happen at any time. Early on, we did realize that we could actually use all that freedom that we have given to the player to help us create a diverse soundscape. Using the high dynamic range audio that we have introduced with Battlefield Bad Company, we are able to portray loud sounds with much greater detail.
Honestly, why would we bother creating a game that would only sound good in theaters or in cinemas? I want it to sound amazing when you're at home, in your couch, playing Battlefield Bad Company.
Hi, my name is Carl Magnus Troedsson. I'm the senior producer of Battlefield Bad Company. Welcome to DICE. Battlefield Bad Company is built with our brand new game engine called Frostbite. And we feel that this exciting new technology is going to change the way that shooters are played today. So, what is this Frostbite game engine all about? Mr. Grundvald?
I'm glad you asked that question, Carl Magnus. I prepared a brief description on the subject. When we started to develop the Frostbite engine, we asked ourselves one question. What do we want to do that hasn't been done before? We knew we wanted to support the big open sandbox gameplay experience, but we also felt that with modern consoles we can do something we always wanted. That is to create a truly dynamic and destructible world. Of course, this meant we needed to tackle a lot of interesting technical challenges, like advanced procedural shaders, HDR rendering, dynamic shadows, ambient occlusion, volumetric lighting, light scattering, atmospheric effects, spot gamma correction, exposure filters, blue filters, blur filters, depth of field filters, vision culling...
Okay, alright. Thank you, Joachim. So, what does all this actually mean, anyway? Well, what it means is that the Frostbite engine really allows us to take fully advantage of the processing power of the 360 and the PS3. This new Battlefield is not only incredibly detailed and realistic, but it's also really, really big.
Hi, I'm Joachim, and I'm here to talk about destruction. Everything from buildings to vehicles to trees and the actual ground you're walking on, it can and it will be destroyed. So in order for this to work properly, the lighting needs to be dynamic as well. If I blow a hole in a wall, or if I change the position of the sun, the shadows will change along with it. So all of this adds to a unique Battlefield experience every time you play, and I can assure you, it's a hell of a lot of fun. Stefan!
Sorry about that, Jocke!
Fan.
Let's talk about HDR audio, Stefan!
Yes, David. We wanted this game to be really, really loud, but there are so many sounds happening at the same time that it didn't work!
What?
It didn't work!
Yeah, but we fixed that. With the Frostbite high dynamic range audio, we have introduced a way to automatically prioritize sound sources at runtime.
So let's take a look at an example and listen to how the music of the radio and the explosions interact. So when you're getting shot at, you don't really care about the radio of the car playing because it's not important.
HDR audio make loud sounds sound loud.
And quieter sounds sound as loud sounds.
Got it?
Good.
Alright, hope you have a bit of a better understanding of what the Frostbite game engine is all about. We're really excited about shipping Battlefield Bad Company, the first game to be built with this brand new technology. Det var allt från DICE i Stockholm. Ha det bra!
It's a military game. You run around with a bunch of funny people and you shoot people. And you find gold and you win. Thank you.